Hello, today in class we discussed section 1.4, problem solving and unit conversions. In class, I told my students that in order to receive full credit on math problems, you must show me your work. I suggest using the guess method, which actually doesn't mean just come up with a guess. The G stands for givens. So the first thing you write down is what you are given in the problem. Then you identify the unknown, what you're trying to solve for. You then find an equation or equations, which will help you to find that. You substitute in the values that you are given, and then you solve. All right, so then we discussed in math, you learn things like this. 4 times 2 over 2 is going to equal 4. 4 times 3 over 3 is going to still equal 4 because any fraction that's a number over the same number is equal to 1. All right, so then we went as far to say, what about if you had the fraction 2 over 2? Even though 1, 2 is red and 1, 2 is blue, that still equals 1 because it's a 2. So the next thing that I said is this. If you paid someone $1 and paid another person 4 quarters, that would be the same thing because 4 quarters is $1. So you might not have ever thought about it this way, but you could use the same logic and say $1 over 4 quarters is equal to 1 because those are the same value, just with different units. All right, so we now are going to try to tackle problems like what I have here. If $1 equals 4 quarters, how many quarters are there in $6? So I should give you a few more hints. All right, when we are doing unit conversions, we are going to use factors just like we did up here. Factors are fractions. And anytime you use one of those factors, mathematically, you will multiply by the top number and divide by the bottom number. The other guideline that I give is you will put the unit that you want to lose in the bottom of the factor and the unit you want to go to in the top of the factor. So let's use our guess method, what we're given in this problem, and these tips on math to solve this. All right, so we know $1 is 4 quarters. How many quarters are in $6? All right, so we're going to start by writing down what we are given. The number that we're given in the problem is $6. We are supposed to change that into how many quarters would be the equivalent. Now I get that this is a pretty simple problem and you might be able to do that in your mind, but I'm going to show you how to set this up mathematically so when we get to more difficult problems, we know what we're doing. All right, I am going to use a conversion factor here, and I'm going to use the guidelines that I put the unit I want to lose in the bottom, which is dollars, and I put the unit that I want to go to in the top, quarters. My equivalence or equation says that $1 is equal to 4 quarters. Now, I am going to look at this right here that I should multiply by the top number and divide by the bottom number. So I'm going to start with 6. I'm going to multiply by 4 because that's the top number and divide by 1. That's a pretty simple problem in your head. That's going to equal 24. If you need to use your calculator to check your work, there's absolutely no shame in that. Now the logic as to how this works is that dollars will cancel out because they're on opposite sides of the fraction and you're left with quarters. All right, let's try another problem. So, given that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters, how many centimeters are in 3.75 inches? All right, same kind of logic, but probably not something that you could solve in your head. All right, so we are going to start with what we're given in the problem. We are given the value of 3.75 inches, and we are supposed to convert that to centimeters. All right, so I look, do I have an equivalency? Yes, I do. I have that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So I'm going to draw my factor. I'm going to put inches in the bottom of my factor because that's the unit I want to lose, and I'm going to put centimeters in the top because that's what I want to gain. Now to figure out what numbers I should plug in, I have to go back to my equivalency here, that 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Mathematically then, that means I am going to take 3.75 times 2.54. All right, so I plugged that into my calculator, 3.75 times 2.54. That gives me 9.525. So that's my answer, 9.525 centimeters are the same thing as 3.75 inches. I will post a set of sample problems that we completed in class, as well as the answer key for you to continue practicing. These concepts will be assessed on the quiz in class tomorrow. So please make sure that you understand this.